Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Super Mario Party Jamboree, part 27? Part 27, I believe. Fellas, welcome back to part 27 of Super Mario Party Jamboree. In the last episode, there was a little bit more tension, a little bit of stuff going against my little dominance streak that I had going on during the first two episodes of this board. In the last episode, we had a lot of back and forth stuff with stealing stars and whatnot. Ninja completely threw their chance to actually steal a star from me, and it's just been a bit of an interesting case. That being said, I've still got a pretty good chance of kind of dominating on this board, I think, and overall, I just do think things are looking up. Just a hair, honestly. And you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do, fellas? I'm going to use my custom dice block and use... I believe I'm going to get a 10 here, because what I want to do, okay, is I want to boost forward a little bit. Also, this is going to get me Bowser Jr. Now, I have mentioned in the past that Bowser Jr. isn't exactly my strongest Jamboree minigame. Do I think it's impossible to win it? No, especially if I'm going to be the one getting the advantage. Yeah, okay, so that only counts as one lap because I went the item route last time I did a lap, which is what it is. Anyways, cool. We're starting out with the Jamboree minigame. Also, mentioned this towards the end of the last episode, but this may be a slightly shorter episode because I decided that these last two turns are just going to be, I think, their own episode. I don't really know how long this episode's going to be. It might be like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. So I apologize that I'm doing it this way. I just feel like right now it's a little more convenient for me, and I hope that's okay. I hope you guys are not going to yell at me per se, but, you know, it's all good. I feel like I've got a pretty good shot in Junior's Gauntlet, but it could be a little rough here. I do get the advantage, which is good. I do get the advantage, and I will be taking that. Thank you for the +3. Honestly, dude, having the advantage on this minigame feels really good, I feel. Oh, dude, that's too easy. That's too easy. That's too easy. Yeah. That's too easy. I did like a double thumb mash there. Okay. This one's kind of weird, but I feel like I am capable of maybe. Oh, I'm just gonna... Yeah, dude! Let's go! We keep that advantage. Okay. Oh, you piece? Oh, you piece? It's kind of insane how I like almost fumbled the bag there. That's kind of insane. Don't get hit. This one I think I remember kind of sucking at. Ooh, dude, I'm doing really good. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm kind of clean with it, fellas. Now, this one I don't recall being as good at. Like, how do you run at that one? That one messes my day up a lot. I don't even really understand how to particularly do good in that one. This one I also kind of just am not very good at. Dang, Ninja got messed up. Everyone but Ninja got messed up. Or no. Oh, get the bananas? Dude, that's my expertise. Well, it wasn't my expertise there, it seems. Okay. Don't get caught. I think I'm very capable. I didn't know it was going to be going that direction, man. That's a pretty crappy situation, I gotta tell you what. Dodge this. I could still lose this. I'm gonna be completely real. Dude, how are they dodging that? No way I'm tied. This is insane. This is insane. It all comes down to this, fellas. Final round. I would like to preferably... Yeah. Focus on them. Oh, that was ideal. Yeah, focus on them. Focus on them, you're good. Okay, focus on Yoshi next, maybe? Oh, you're in this phase. Why did you just sit there? Okay, it's going to be a tie, potentially. Oh, yo, let's go. We love to see it. We love to see it. We love to see it. It panned out. I kind of started fumbling the bag a little there towards the end, but you know what? We kind of clutched out, and I think everything kind of panned out at the end of the day. That's good. That's good. That's good. We love to see that. And then maybe, hopefully, I can actually snag 2 stars, maybe on turn 15. I feel like the possibility of that could be a little low. Although, if I get a good enough roll, it could wholeheartedly be a possibility. I'm just going to be 100% real with you. And then hear me out. You boost up here. Nothing happens here, right? Oh, right, that's their... I forgot that was their effect. I wholeheartedly forgot that was their effect, dude. That's crazy. Yeah, I might be able to get the star. Keyword might. I'm not really banking on it, but it is a possibility. But hope you all are doing well. Guys, you know, little banter piece that I wanted to talk about. So as of the time I'm recording this, I believe maybe 2 or 3 days ago, this is going to be huge. I'm just going to warn you guys about this ahead of time. This is huge tech nerd stuff. But as of a few days ago, NVIDIA, big GPU kind of tech company, you know, whatever. I think they're like the biggest company in the world at the moment. I don't know, man. They unveiled the RTX 50 series graphics cards. This is a funny situation. They unveiled the RTX 50 series graphics cards, and I've got to tell you what, man. They're look, man, I want to be excited about them. The only one I think is kind of cool is the 5090, mainly because, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, right? Oh, man, I could be losing everything right here. The main reason I'm kind of like, about it is because there's not actually that much of a performance gain actually happening. It's actually being a lot more, like, a lot of the benchmarks that they're showing, it's a lot of, they're taking into account stuff with, what is it? This could be bad. Oh, no. Oh, dude, my money. Oh, but yeah, so a lot of the issue with the cards is that the benchmarks they're showing for the games, they're showing like double performance. But then you have to read the fine print. They're showing it with DLSS because their big selling point this generation seems to be the existence of this thing called DLSS 4.0. Now, if you don't know what DLSS is, in simplest terms, the way that they kind of describe it is that it aims to kind of double your frame rate in a way, or get close to that, by basically in between every single real frame that you have, generating kind of an artificial frame, like a generated frame that isn't real and rendered on your GPU, right? So, you know, the DLSS 3.5 and other DLSS models, they're kind of, their whole shtick has sort of been that they generate one frame in between every real frame, right? This sucks. All right, this just wholeheartedly sucks. But DLSS 4.0, it's a little more centered around generating, it's centered around this thing called multi-frame generation, which, to put it simply, is just the same thing as what was previously being done with generating frames, but it actually that's not ideal. It generates 3 frames in between every real frame instead of only 1. So ideally, you're getting way more frames than ever before with this kind of setup. Now, the problem, and this is the big thing that they kind of forget to take into account, is that despite the fact that they're generating frames, right? So that theoretically you could get a much smoother looking experience to the eye, the kind of problem with DLSS, with its frame gen, is that there is, when you have a low frame rate, say something like in the 20s, or like the 15s, whatever, you know, the 15s, you're kind of in a weird spot because I don't even know what I took, man. I'm just gonna listen. I've accepted my fate on. Okay, I lucked out, but the problem is that when you have a lower frame rate like that, there is an inherent amount of latency to your inputs that exist because of the fact that the game is just not keeping up and rendering frames at enough of a point to constantly be keeping up with your inputs. So the problem with the DLSS frame gen stuff is that frame gen doesn't inherently remove the latency side of things. See, visually on screen, you're going to be having a smoother looking experience, right? But in reality, your latency is still going to be that of like the 20 frames you were getting. So like, you know, in an ideal scenario, right? In an ideal scenario, not in an ideal scenario. That's not the right description. But say you're in a situation where your rendered frame rate that you're getting with no frame gen on it's like 25 FPS, right? You're getting like 25 FPS.
Final turn.
And you decide to use DLSS, and maybe DLSS pushes you. We're not going to consider what is it? The multi-frame generation where it generates multiple frames in between every real frame. Let's see if I can actually get something good here real quick. I'm locked in. Horrible. I mean, it's honestly just atrocious, really. You know what, though? Let's just do that. But despite the fact that visually what you'll be seeing on screen, if you are frame gen, you know, using DLSS frame gen from 25 FPS, maybe you're getting close to 50, right? You're getting close to 50. On screen, the look is going to look pretty close to that, right? It's going to look smooth and kind of look a little more akin to like a 45, 50 sort of deal. The problem is that your latency is still going to be that of 25 FPS. So this is kind of the problem I have, is that all of their benchmarks that they have been using for the RTX 50 series is leaning heavily into, this is sick, it's leaning heavily into trying to promote DLSS 4.0. So the benchmarks are them taking into account, oh, it's double the frame rate as the 40 series cards. But only if, you are using frame gen. And this is the problem, is that when you take frame gen out of the equation, which I believe they only had one benchmark available at the CES showcase that they presented the cards in, they only had one game where they showcased what it would be like on the cards, you know, in benchmark-wise without frame gen, right? And that was with Far Cry 6. And when you look at those benchmarks, it's not really that big of a difference to the 40 series, which is why a lot of people are like, ultimately, this 50 series like set kind of doesn't look worth it, because guess what? With the 50 series, what you're ultimately dealing with is a set of cards that aren't that much of an improvement in the overall frame rate, but they are trying to act like they're a big improvement and like twice as much frame rate as the 40 series, you know, last gen CPUs now, because of the fact that they're trying to account DLSS 4.0 into that. And it's just not good. Listen, man, I had hopes to get a 4080 Super sometime in the future for a future build. You will probably not catch me, however, getting a 50 series card. Maybe if I do, it might be like a 5070. The problem, and this is another problem I had. Okay, this isn't gonna go well, by the way. I just want to brace. I just want you guys to brace yourself for this. The 50 series cards, like they had a claim that I believe the 5070 was going to have the power of that of a 4090. Now, if you know anything about the... I did not just fumble the bag that hard. I'm really on autopilot right now. But if you know anything about the 4090, the 4090 is basically, in terms of the readily available GPUs out in the market right now, it is the top dog. It is the top dog, and it is really good. So to say that a card that is around $500 or like $700 or so is 4090 levels of performance sounds kind of ludicrous, doesn't it? It sounds kind of ludicrous to say that a card that is $700 or like $500 or something like that is rivaling the performance. Okay, this is here. It's kind of insane. Sorry. It's kind of insane to say that it is rivaling the performance of a card that is like, you know, it's like what, maybe $1,500 or something like that. So a lot of people were skeptical of this, right? And that's very correct, because the way that the 4070 works out is that if you are including, again, it's going to circle back around to this conversation topic, by the way, this is going to be interesting. If you have, if you're using frame gen, right? If you're using DLSS 4.0, then you are possibly reaching levels of performance for games that a 4090 would get you. If you don't use frame gen, though, it's nowhere near that. It's nowhere near that. So it's very... I really hate that they're not using raw performance stats. They're really trying to inflate stuff with taking into account DLSS 4.0 and trying to really factor that into as like to what the actual power of the GPU itself is, because ultimately that is not the actual power of the GPU itself. You're artificially generating these frames, and it doesn't match up that way, and you're going to have to deal with this latency. Now, again, listen, for some people, this is going to be okay, but I am not. Maybe I'd be convinced to get a 5070, or maybe even a 5080, but I probably not, man, because the differences are a lot more minimal in comparison to the 4090 than I'd like them to be. You know what I mean? The 40 series cards, you'd probably be better off value-wise still just buying, it feels like. And maybe there will be some exceptions to that when things come around. I believe the 5090 is supposed to be... That's sick. I believe the 5090 is supposed to be dropping in late this month, right? I think January 30th, the 5090 is supposed to be dropping with the 5070, the 5070 Ti, I think, is also going to be a thing, and a 5080 releasing soon after. So I'm just like, dude, you know, just for the love of God, man, just... I've heard this argument. By the way, we won, if you could believe it. I know I've spent most of this episode rambling about NVIDIA GPUs, but it's been this big conversation topic I wanted to talk about. Honestly, dude, like, I just wish that they would give raw performance stats. And I've heard these people say, well, what much can you do at this point? You know, we've kind of peaked in terms of performance. And I'm like, man, if that's the case, then there should be a shift from trying to make these brand new GPUs. And I know that sounds unrealistic in the grand scheme of things, but there should be this shift from trying to make brand new GPUs to, hey, devs, let's optimize our games more so that you don't just try and stupidly up the ante every time. And then, you know, by the time that you've upped the ante enough, the 4090 can barely run stuff. I mean, listen, I've primarily played at 1080p most of the time I've ever done gaming, right? So for me, I wouldn't even need anywhere close to a 4090 to be playing anything, you know, like anything like that to, I feel like I have to struggle. If I started playing in 4K or something, yeah, things would start to struggle. But with me playing in 1080, man, I don't need anything close to a 4090, and I think that's just important to mention. So, fellas, moral of the story, you don't always got to get the biggest and the greatest. The only reason I'm considering a 4080 Super for my next build is literally just because I want to have really good video a really good video editing experience, really smooth video editing experience. But in terms of the actual game stuff, man, I'll play on 1080. I'll play in 1080p and we just go. Of course, I'd like to get a significantly better GPU than the one I have now. I have an aged 1080 at this point, but I would like to get a better GPU, you know? So, all that rambling aside, God, sorry, this episode has been everything about GPUs. The title is going to be very fun to make for this episode, I feel. But, fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Party Jamboree. It's been a very, what is it? It's been a very, very eventful board, I gotta say. We've dominated quite a lot. Honestly, when Yoshi got that first bonus star, I'm like, if Yoshi gets another one, dude, I think he genuinely might beat me. But little to his surprise, no, he did not catch up because the second bonus star was an item bonus star. And I'm like, you know what? I've used a lot of bonus stars. I think I've got a pretty good chance at this. And that I did. So, yeah. Hey, fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Party Jamboree. I don't exactly know what board we have next to do. We might actually be starting on the classical boards next, to be honest. Yeah, actually, we might be starting on Western Land next, but I'm a little unsure. Maybe we'll do the Bowser board, but we probably won't. We'll probably just do the two classic boards, and then we'll do the we'll do the Bowser board, and then after that, it'll be the kind of one-off episodes of kind of miscellaneous modes and whatnot. And then after that, the series is going to be done. Listen, we still have a fair bit of episodes to go before this Let's Play is done. I hope you guys don't mind that this has been quite the lengthy LP. I hope you guys don't mind, but I've been enjoying it to death, and it's going to be that much more exciting when this is all said and done, and we're moving on to whatever the next Let's Play is, and I'm very, very excited. And it just, I know I mentioned it in the previous 2 episodes, but it feels good to be back into the groove, and just really dipping my toes back into this whole content creation thing. So, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. Hey, fellas, if you guys enjoyed this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe. I don't know, it's your life. Do what you want. I don't really care. And I will see you fellas in the next video. Bye-bye, guys!